Hello everyone, I have a confession to make. I've been working without a camera rolling and I have built this. Welcome to the beautiful world of aquascaping. Making a video while building an aquascape is really difficult for two reasons. First of all, you can't really concentrate on the hardscape itself while you are trying to explain what you're doing. And the second reason is the video shoots have exact dates planned up ahead for weeks. So it's not like, okay, now I have some ideas and I'm going to build something. No, I have an exact date when I come in and at 10 a.m. I have to build. It's not ideal for contest stuff. It's not ideal for any kind of creative work. But obviously we do this from week to week. It's not a problem. But for achieving a real good result, I needed to do this when my creativity was at that point that, okay, now I build. I just started building and I couldn't really stop until I was finished. But it's only for a hardscape, so all the rest, I'm going to show you guys the planting. I'm going to explain what I did with the hardscape itself. We're going to have the next few weeks shown to you how I choose fish for a contest. It's quite different than choosing for a regular aquascape. Probably how I'm going to shoot the final photo, how we manage all the small details, how we trim the plants differently, how we take care of it from day to day. Basically the maintenance is a bit different because we are not only doing the weekly water changes and the weekly trimmings. Sometimes you have to do some small work every day to have that perfect result. As for the build itself, I'm back at Iwagumi. In last year's good result, I've used Frodo stones. I've tried with different ones in the previous two builds, but I'm back at the Frodos because of their texture, because of the looks. I've actually started working with 600 kilos of Frodo stone. What you see in here is 120 kilos at the end, so that's quite a lot. I already have a fish in mind. I was keen on using that specific fish before starting the hardscape, and we're gonna get back on later, but it's a bluish tint fish and the Frodo stones have a bluish tint, so they're gonna work perfectly together. Something new that we didn't use yet, we've actually found a video about this online, which is gluing the sand. I actually poured in the first layer of sand, then put a lot of liquid glue on top of it and poured some more sand on it, which results in the sand being basically one piece, preventing it from rolling down. The backside is quite high. I haven't used any special items underneath. It's fully lifted with the soil itself. That's what's recommended by us to prevent the water not flowing through the soil. If you use soil for the whole backside lift, you're gonna have proper flow inside the soil and you are not gonna have areas where there is no fresh oxygen going. If you have those areas because you have some plastic pieces to make the background higher, any areas where there's not enough oxygen, that's where cyanobacteria and ugly things like that are coming from. Plants-wise, I'm going to use a bit more different types than what's usual with Iwagumi layouts. I'm going to have two main types of carpeting plants, and in the front it's going to be Marsula Granada, and in the back it's going to be Eleocharis pusilla or Acicularis mini. I'm going to break up both of them with Marsula hirsuta. This is to make it a bit more wild than usual. Most Iwagumi layouts, most of mine as well, they're really clean in planting and they usually have just one or two types of plants, but I'm trying to make it a bit more natural, going for the wild style a bit. For these bigger pieces of flat rocks, which I don't really want to see because there's nothing interesting going on there, I want to cover it with Lilaopsis brasiliensis. And also I have some Ricardia prepared for the edges of the rocks to give that very distant look of a grass field behind the mountains. Yeah, let's get to it. So we are starting with the Marsula Granada. I chose this plant so it doesn't cover the face of the rocks in the front, because it's gonna stay really small. We are actually 2 months away from the deadline of the iaplc application, which is end of May. So you still have time to apply. But yeah, in 2 months I should have perfect carpet. The tank should be over the more difficult starting period with algae coming and going. About 1 month before the final deadline of application, I take a photo just to make sure. I clean the tank as much as I can and I take a photo if acting like it was the deadline tomorrow. That way I'm safe to have something to apply with if it doesn't get better in the last month. Usually it does. So I take another photo about 2 weeks before the deadline, and again if it gets better, even better, then I take a last photo at the last week, in the last few days, and then I have 3 options to choose from. And I'm rocking my iaplc t-shirt just to make sure it's gonna help. It's a good takeaway from this situation of having the 3rd tank built for the contest in 1 season is don't be afraid to rebuild. I woke up with an idea and I was like, okay, this is the time to build. I just started putting in the rocks. I put in 3 main rocks in the tank. I took them out immediately. I was like, this is not the day. It's not gonna be good enough. Then I started looking more and more into the hardscape available for me, when I decided about this one and this one, that they will be a perfect starting point. The purpose of putting these rocks in here was only to keep the soil from coming down. And actually after I put them in, it created this flat surface and I immediately saw this valley going through. That was the moment where I was, okay, I have the perfect base. I have to build on this. After that, it was about 2 hours to what you see here now. Once you get into the flow and you have a good selection of rocks or wood or whatever material you're gonna use, it goes quite quick. And that's how you know that you are on a good path, if it goes quick. Marcela Granata is a weird plant. With most plants, when you get them in vitro, they look really small and they tend to grow a lot bigger underwater. Granata is actually the other way around. They look way too high at the moment, but they're gonna get much smaller and their leaf shape changes a bit along the way as they get used to being underwater. Remind me to put this back. I stole a longer pin set from the maintenance crew because I can't fit my hand in between this rock and the glass. Okay, I have an issue I didn't really think about. When you glue in the sand parts, you can't really put plants in it. Putting some of the Granata into the sand path in the middle, but only in a few places to add to that wildness of the scape. This way there's a transition in between the carpet and the sand part. All these small pieces of plants, they're gonna start rooting around in the sand. So from time to time, you're gonna have to take out a few patches. That's it for the Granata for now. Later on, we're gonna use some more patches, but now I'm getting on to the Pusilla. So I'm going to start planting the Aquarius Pusilla just to make it a bit more natural. I'm going to have it on separate elevation on the two sides of the tank. So if you take a look on the right side, I have this a bit over the middle of the aquarium, but on the left side I start the Pusilla around 1/3 of the tank. So this way it won't be so symmetrical. I'm done with the first part of planting, which was having a full carpet all around the tank. In the front, the Marcela Granata, in the back we have the Aquarius Pusilla, some of the Granata in the sand path, and that's the base. And now I'm gonna start making a bit more wide, as I described in the beginning. I'm gonna introduce some plants to break up the carpets, and that's gonna be Marcela hirsuta and also some Lilaopsis brasiliensis. If you're used to the clear gel of most plants, don't be frightened when you order your first batch of Marcela hirsuta, because it's perfectly normal if it's a bit brownish. So I just put it in all around. It doesn't really matter. That's the point of making it more wide. And it can be bigger chunks. It doesn't have to be as small as regular carpet, because you don't want it to spread so quickly. It's going to be quite similar in shape for the other Marcela, the Granata, but it's going to be a bit bigger. It's going to grow higher and the leaves going to grow bigger, so it's going to look quite natural. I don't have the Lilaopsis, but there is Balazs's tank full of it, and he always steals my plants, so revenge time, I guess. I think I'm gonna be brutal. He always is. Actually, I'm just kidding. This tank is gonna be dismantled this afternoon. That hole in there is just for a few hours. Actually, I'm saving these plants because it takes a lot of time for Lilaopsis to grow this dense. That's why I decided to reuse it. I'm done with the carpeting and basically all the plants. What's left is gluing some moss. I have some Ricardia and some Physidens mini left over. We found it in the back. So that's why I have the gloves. I'm gonna glue. Go for it. Planting is done. I got my afternoon coffee, so that's it for today. We're gonna fill it up and see you in a few weeks. We are back. Actually, it's been about 2 months since starting this tank. It would need just a few more weeks for a perfect finish, but actually we are quite close to the iaplc deadline, which is next week. So yeah, we're gonna have to make the photos now. What changed in these 2 months is I've added the fish, which is, I've mentioned earlier that I want to use a specific type of fish, and we've succeeded with that. So you can see some subvar resplendens inside. This is one of my favorite fish. It's quite difficult to get them around here, so I'm really happy that we got this sorted out. Their orange noses and their bluish bodies, they perfectly complement the green tones and the shady areas of the Aquascape. Other things, we had to tweak a bit on the fertilization. We've used ADA as we use in all our tanks, and after about the first month, there started some whitey spots, especially in the Eleocharis carpet. And then we started adding the ADA nitrogen, which came out nicely. Now the plants look perfect. Up until this point, we've let to grow some algae on the rocks themselves. So today I'm going to take a few photos with the greenish tint on the rocks themselves, and after that, probably next week, we are still in time, we're going to clean off all the algae of the rocks and take another photo. Obviously the Frodo stones, they have this bluish tint, almost like metal. I'm honestly not sure which is going to look better, so we're going to try them both. You're going to see them both, not the final photos of course, because that's going for the contest, but you're going to see some live B-roll action of both phases of the tank. Actually, I started preparing for the photo shoot, so the CO2 system is already hanging on the side. Sorry if it bothers you, but it's not bothering the photo. And obviously I want all the small bubbles to clean out of the tank before taking the photo. Actually, if you are taking your own photo, best is to do it before turning on the light. So only turn on the light when you're ready. If you have an exact date for the photo shoot, then take out all the plugs, the CO2, the lights, everything the night before the shooting, and only replug the lights when you're ready and set up with your camera and everything. Otherwise you're gonna have the plant starting to bubble up with oxygen, and you really don't want that. Now we're gonna have to deal with it some way. For the photo, I'm gonna take out all the technical equipment from the tank, so the filter in and outlets, the drop checker, the skimmer, everything comes out. I'm going to drop the water level just a bit, so the water level actually touches or just a few millimeters away from the very top of the biggest rock. That's it for preparation, and after that we just start shooting and shooting for hours probably to get that perfect shot with the fishes in the perfect place. And this is just the test shot. Your biggest enemy when shooting your tank is reflection of the glass, so don't wear a white shirt. Wear a black one, and shut off all the lights in the room except for the light of the tank, or have proper studio flashlights lighting up the tank. I have white t-shirt, so I'm gonna have to jump out of the shot all the time. We have this black thing to avoid reflection of all the other tanks, because yeah, we won't shut down the whole showroom. By lowering the water level, what I achieve is actually there's more reflection on top, so I can see more of the rock on the top. Actually, it looks quite nice with the clean reflection, but we're going to use some hair dryers. I'm not sure if just from one side or two sides. We're going to try which is best to actually ripple the top, which distracts that reflection on the surface. I have Victor and Donnie to help me out. Victor is doing Instagram live during this. They're not going to hear anything with the blowers going off, so yeah, let's do this. Oh, big part. My white t-shirt was all over the reflections, so I'm Darth Vader now. Let's try again. Oh, that's hot. That's it for now. You won't see the actual photos because of the contest rules, so you're gonna see them around end of August when the contest is finished. And yeah, see you next time. Goodbye.